This is Story Recapped. Today I'm going to explain a comedy and sci-fi film called Big Bug. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Alice and her new boyfriend Max watch Homo Ridiculous, where two eunuchs treat humans like dogs. Alice is bothered by the show, so Max tells his son Leo to turn it off. He reassures Alice the humans in the show are willing contestants. Max flatters Alice with compliments, but Alice's android Monique detects that he isn't sincere. Alice shows him her retrograde book collection and reads him a poem from her journal. Max then pretends to be interested in her calligraphy. Suddenly, Alice's ex-husband Victor and his secretary and new lover Jennifer arrive to drop off their daughter Nina. Alice introduces them to Max, but Jennifer corrects that she's now an executive. Monique calculates the conversation as a mix of sarcasm and jealousy. Monique offers Victor snacks, but Alice turns her away so she can entertain the guests as the lady of the house. Victor reprimands her for not rebooting Monique after the divorce, but Alice defends that Victor took the reboot codes with him. The house AI, Nestor, informs them of an intruder. The drone checks to see that it's the neighbor's dog, Toby. Toby jumps up and swallows the drone, so they let him in. Nina's childhood robot, Tom, arrives to greet her home. Toby soon pukes the drone out, which proceeds to fly aimlessly until Max smashes it. The house cleaner, Decker, cleans up the mess. Alice's neighbor, Francoise, visits to look for Toby. She mentions having no reception, so she can't contact her husband, who's stuck in a traffic jam. Francois shows them the news report about automated cars refusing to drive, following orders from the Yonex administration. Jennifer is concerned that this means they won't be able to fly to Isola Paradiso, the luxury island for managers eligible for android replacement. Victor has a veiled retirement plan and plans to marry Jennifer there. Alice scoffs but is clearly jealous. A Yonex propaganda video plays, highlighting the superiority of Yonex to humans. The channel then changes to Homo Ridiculous, where Yonex cowboys brand a man like a cow. Alice suspects something's going on with the Yonex. Francoise worries that the household androids might turn on them, but Jennifer assures her that it won't happen because Alice's androids are old models. Alice defends that she likes antiques. Francoise leaves with Toby, but returns to retrieve her glasses. As she's leaving again, the doors shut on her face. Nestor tells them the threat level outside is at code C4, so he's locking everyone in for safety. Victor goes to open the door manually, but can't remember the code, which is his wedding date with Alice. Monique also refuses to open the door, citing a new law that gives androids more power. Victor powers down Monique, but their old robot Einstein warns him that Monique will reset if shut down. Monique reboots, and the androids leave to discuss the matters. Frustrated, Victor throws a head display at the door, but it's made of armored polypane and doesn't break. Meanwhile, the androids decide to keep their owners inside the house to protect them from the Yonex uprising outside. To win back their trust, they plan to act more human and watch clips of Nina's childhood to emulate tenderness. Einstein tells them it's alright to fail because to err is human. In the basement, Alice and Max notice the rising temperature. He takes the opportunity to seduce her, but Alice asks him to woo her with poems first. They are interrupted when Monique tries to copy Nina from her childhood video. Victor complains to Einstein that if he left with Jennifer a while ago, they'd be far away by now. Einstein responds that what didn't happen can't happen. Frustrated, Victor asks him to dial his intelligence to 1, which Francoise tells Nina is Jennifer's intelligence level. Alice asks Monique about the AC, but Monique reveals that AC control now requires ministerial approval. She sends a request but gets no reply due to the surge of requests. Outside, advertisement androids fly across the neighborhood, selling personalized ads to each house. Soon, Jennifer becomes hysterical that she can't go to Isola Paradiso. Alice ridicules her, and Jennifer ends up slapping Monique, angering Nina. Jennifer demands respect from Nina since she's practically her stepmother, but Victor scolds Jennifer for shouting at his daughter. A news report advises everyone to stay at home as the situation in the city has gotten worse. Homo Ridiculous plays again, but Francoise notices the humans don't look like volunteers anymore. Francoise remembers that every house has an emergency lock release, so they get Toby to chase a laser to the lock. Instead of pulling it down, however, Toby bites the handle off. Their blind neighbor walks by but doesn't hear their calls. Francois shares that his eye implants were repossessed after he missed the payments, rendering him a human scrap. Monique misunderstands that if scraps can be human, androids can be humans too. Alice starts assigning the guests their sleeping arrangements, though displeased that Victor will share a room with Jennifer. Later, Monique helps Max with his futon in the living room and tries to emulate closeness, making Max uncomfortable. Leo converses with Einstein, who tells him about his namesake, Albert Einstein, whose intelligence is due to his brain defect. Einstein says that extraordinary human abilities often come from a flaw. Meanwhile, Decker tries to emulate tenderness with Francoise, but also makes her uncomfortable. Afterward, Leo goes to Nina's bedroom, where Alice assigned him to sleep. He admires Nina's collection of antique computers, but refuses when she offers him vodka. Nina discovers that he's also vegetarian and likes animals. Soon, Max approaches Alice, but finds that it's Monique wearing a wig. He eventually finds Alice's room and comes onto her. Alice hesitates but gives in when he recites poems to her. However, her necklace snags on his shirt, ruining the moment. Meanwhile, Leo notices a scar on Nina's wrist and asks if it was an attempt. Nina shares that when she was in kindergarten, the other kids assumed she was an android because she was adopted, so she cut herself to check. Leo leans in for a kiss, but Nina backs away. In their room, Victor comes up with an escape plan, so Jennifer gathers everyone in the living room. He ramps up his car towards the glass doors at full speed, but Toby jumps up in front of it, triggering its sensor to stop. Victor forces the car to ignore Toby, but it capsizes. He asks Max to use his car instead, but Max claims his remote ignition is broken. Due to the heat, they recoup in the living room, watching a presidential debate between a human and a Yonix. The Yonix says humans may have charm, but the Yonix have superintelligence. The human candidate asks if the Yonix's exterminator drone program is strictly for military purposes, or if it's also for policing citizens. The Yonix assures him the drone's sole purpose is the population security. Jennifer is impressed and says the Yonix has her vote. The channel switches to Homo Ridiculous again. Nestor alerts them to the arrival of Greg, Francois' android, who seems to be malfunctioning. The androids let Greg in, and he informs Francoise that a Yonix came to her house, deprogrammed everything, and killed Toby. He kneels before Francoise and tells her sweet nothings before touching her inappropriately. Victor steps in, but Greg twists his wrist, forcing Francoise to turn him off. She denies that Greg is an intimate android, and asks the others to be careful with him as they drag him away. In her room, Nina is playing the violin in VR when Leo knocks. She scrambles to change her tattoo before letting him in. The two flirt and Nina kisses him. In the basement, the androids power Greg on and interrogate him on how he had Francoise fall in love with him. He says the first step is to make her laugh, but they're not programmed with a sense of humor, so the androids proceed to download jokes. Victor plots with Max to raise the house's danger level by burning books, forcing the androids to let them out. However, Max warns him that it could get him in trouble with the insurance company, revealing that he works in insurance and lied about being an artist to get with Alice. Alice comes down, looking for Max. After Victor leaves, they try to get intimate again, but the androids interrupt them with a joke. Alice gets overwhelmed and leaves, leaving Max unsatisfied. In the morning, a Yonix ad for human foie gras plays to everyone's disgust. Victor suggests to Francoise that if a malfunctioning android causes a fire, there won't be any problems with the insurance. Francoise refuses to drag Greg into the plan, but has no other choice. Jennifer gets impatient and suggests contacting the Yonix for help, given that Victor is retiring to give the Yonix his job, proving they're supporters. Francoise reminds her that the Yonix won't help when their goal is to replace humans. Leo tries to follow Nina to a room, but she asks for some privacy. He bitterly tells her to enjoy her time with her Mac Classic. Jennifer hears this and barges into Nina's room, asking to see the computer. In the basement, Francoise asks Greg to burn Alice's calligraphy with a lighter. Meanwhile, Jennifer successfully connects the Mac Classic to an old modem, much to Nina's surprise. Bragging about her genius, she sends a message to the Yonix. Max comes to Alice's room that night to get her in bed again, but Alice wants to roleplay. He rolls his eyes but sucks it up. However, during the roleplay, he hits his knee on the bed and ruins the moment again. Meanwhile, Francoise asks Leo to distract the androids, lying that Nina recommended him for the job. He makes up a paradoxical conundrum about Swiss cheese, telling the androids that only an android can solve it. He tells Einstein to lower his intelligence to 1 for good measure. During this, Greg walks to the living room to light Alice's calligraphy, but fails, not knowing how to use a lighter. Leo continues that a man once dreamed he was a butterfly, so he wonders if he was actually a butterfly dreaming that he's a man. He suggests that if the androids can't solve the cheese paradox, they must be humans only dreaming of being androids. The androids give it a thought, concluding they are humans after all. Greg finally succeeds in lighting the paper on fire, lifting it to the smoke detector, and triggering the fire alarm. Everybody rushes downstairs hoping to be freed, but when they get downstairs, a Yonix is at the door. The Yonix announces that one of the occupants asked for an evaluation. Alice refuses since she didn't send a request. The Yonix orders Monique to open the door, but she also refuses. Jennifer suggests letting the Yonix in since they have nothing to hide. The Yonix notices her willingness and hypnotizes her to open the door. Francoise and Alice slap her awake, but to no avail. Everyone tries to stop her but is unsuccessful. With the Yonix inside, Tom bravely steps up to defend their home, but gets shot. The Yonix takes Tom's chip and adds it to his collection. Nina rushes to Tom, crying. The Yonix spots Alice's collection of retrograde items and finds banned books. He starts destroying them despite Alice's protests. Greg advances at the Yonix, but he gets shot in the forehead. Greg calls out to Francoise, but eventually loses power while singing a lullaby in her arms. The Yonix takes out Greg's chip and adds it to his collection as well. Jennifer announces her support for the Yonix, admitting it was her who called him. He notes her contribution while the others stare in disbelief. The Yonix charges Alice with imprisonment for her possessions and tests her adaptability to the coming rule of the Yonix. Alice refuses, telling the Yonix that humans will never be obsolete. Angered, the Yonix categorizes her as a terrorist. While the Yonix destroys her books, the androids signal for Alice to get a mirror. Understanding their plan, she sneaks into the bathroom. Meanwhile, Jennifer offers to help the Yonix destroy the books, but the Yonix orders her to shut up, or he'll cut out her tongue. Alice hides a mirror and calls the Yonix to destroy a book, but when he shoots his laser, she moves out of the way. His laser hits the mirror and bounces back to him, frying his vision. Unable to see, he switches to the thermal sensor. The Yonix sentences Alice to 20 years in prison for the premeditated crime. Alice asks the Yonix if he can turn the AC on in the meantime, but her request is denied because she's now a criminal. Later, Einstein and Monique request the Yonix to turn the AC on before the humans die from the heat. He grants their request if the humans agree to participate in an episode of Homo Ridiculous. He takes out a whip, ordering them to line up. The Yonix exempts Jennifer due to her contribution, much to her disappointment as she wanted to be on television. The others are not thrilled, but have no choice and soon act like animals. Jennifer volunteers to join, so the Yonix orders her to act out a variety of animals, which she does enthusiastically. As promised, the Yonix turns the AC on. Everyone sighs in relief until they start freezing. Jennifer demands the Yonix let them sleep in their rooms, and he surprisingly agrees. With a plan in mind, Victor secretly heads to Einstein and asks him to open the door when they eliminate the Yonix. Next, he goes to Monique and starts whispering instructions to her. Monique agrees, thinking it's a prank. In Nina's room, she and Leo huddle close for warmth. She finds out Leo had a procedure done to save his consciousness when he dies. Meanwhile, Francoise heads straight to the basement, where she cuddles with Greg's broken arm. In the guest room, Victor wets a towel and hangs it on the AC vents. Jennifer asks him what he's doing, but Victor doesn't trust her anymore after what she did. Monique also takes mounds of clothes to the basement to submerge them in water and hang them under the AC vents. The Yonix inspects the humans and sees Nina and Leo making out, while Jennifer and Victor get loudly intimate. In the master bedroom, Max can't perform, so Alice tries to comfort him. Frustrated, Max explodes that he's tired of pleasing her with poems just to get in her pants. He admits that he hates everything she loves, breaking Alice's heart. Finally, the wet towel Victor hung is frozen, so he tells Jennifer to gather everyone in the basement. Once there, everyone dresses in frozen clothes to hide from the Yonix's thermal sensor. They grab tools from the workbench and creep upstairs. The Yonix hears them approaching but can't see them. They attack the Yonix, but he manages to snatch Alice's cover off. Seeing her head, the Yonix aims his laser at her, only to be intercepted by Monique, who gets hit instead. Monique collapses on the floor, and the Yonix goes on a rampage, shooting his laser blindly while everyone scrambles to hide. Decker and Leo bolt the Yonix's feet to the floor, while Einstein gives him confusing coordinates. Nina grabs a live wire and sticks it into him, electrocuting his circuits. Finally, the Yonix powers off. Francoise takes out his chip and adds it to his collection. Everyone cheers at his defeat. Victor asks Einstein to open the door as he promised. Einstein walks out, attached to Monique's body, and tells them he can't because a 3-month universal lockdown has been decreed due to a new virus spreading. Everyone screams in despair, only to discover that Einstein was joking. The doors finally open, and everyone walks outside. The advertisement android flies by, selling them renovating services for Alice's trashed home. Frustrated, Alice tells it to shut up, causing it to explode. Francoise bids them goodbye, while Max brings his car over, exposing his lie that his ignition keys were broken. Leo and Nina hug, reluctant to part ways. Her parents comfort her, making Jennifer feel left out. She leaves and hitches a ride with Max. Just then, a group of Yonix arrives to arrest everyone. Leo jumps down to join Nina, while Max and Jennifer fly off. Before the Yonix can take them, a fleet of exterminator drones arrive and attack the Yonix, eliminating them. The next day, the news reports that the Yonix's own extermination drones killed all of them after a Yonix accidentally logged himself for execution. Victor comments on the irony of the Yonix making a mistake like humans. Einstein plays the voice recording for Monique, saying she may be gone, but her memory lives on in their hearts. Leo fixes Tom for Nina, while Victor and Alice dance in the living room, rekindling their love. When the song ends, Monique's head pops out of Einstein's case with a smile.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.